All right, good evening and welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order this Monday, July 31st, 2023 special meeting of the Lake County School Board. If we would, let's please stand for a moment of silence and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Before we get into the script for the public hearing of our adoption of the tentative millage and the tentative budget, we do have one public input card that is not related to any of those topics, so I'll invite Mr. Yoakum on forward now to address the board.
Greetings. I was on part of this at the last meeting, but I got here and I remember getting beat on by Mr. Mathias if I tried to slip in a public input card after the beginning of the meeting, so I waited until now. What I want to say is, one, I want to congratulate Superintendent Cornegay for the high marks and the discussion that we heard, and I thought that every teacher needs something. I was going to recommend you get her a Ferrari, but then I read on internet that Ferraris have terrible maintenance problems. So instead, I got something that every teacher and superintendent should have.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Thank you very much.
I thought it was a pistol.
Could have been a shotgun, but instead, so I want to chime in, just say that my, having been in many different organizations and everything, I think that Ms. Cornegay has done a great job, and I look forward to another 30 years of her running this operation.
Thank you, man.
Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, and I've talked about this before, is that the artificial intelligence, AI, is just cascading and erupting. It's just going nuts. And I'm making another pitch that I would suggest that the school board be proactive and initiate a plan. Don't wait until next year. And I know that Mr. Weeks has talked about, he's planning a class, I think, for I don't know, teachers or administrators, and but I think you need to incorporate some AI in every single class in every single school, and you also need to have a plan for putting in safeguards. We've talked about you've probably heard of ChatGPT, but there's also some others now that have come out that they removed all the guardrails. Okay. Like ChatGPT and a couple of the other common ones, if you go in and use them as a tool, you can ask them things, but if you ask them, for instance, give me a home recipe for making meth in my kitchen, they won't do it. But this one, a new one came out, and they've removed all the guardrails. They basically created a blank slate, and it can be downloaded for free. There's already an internet. I watched a YouTube video this morning, where you can go in and do that. Pardon?
On how to make meth?
Yeah. I didn't ask for that. I was watching because this guy's explaining it, and he went through about 3 or 4 things. He blurred out the stuff because he didn't feel right to even show it to people, but he wanted to show that these tools are available. And so there also needs to be some ethics probably, and teach students to keep away from it, because some of them will go home and find that. And so what I would suggest is you seriously start educating yourself about AI, and then, is she watching that?
Yeah, so she's letting me know that you're out of time.
You don't have a little timer down here like the other one. You need to get a timer. Well, I can't read it, so
Vance,
I
we're like
don't know.
66 in student funding.
I've
We
got,
don't
what,
have
2
a timer.
minutes? I've got 2 minutes left?
No, I'm afraid you're out of time.
No, sir.
Oh,
Actually,
well,
you're a little
okay.
over.
You need to be proactive. I am really encouraging you. I'm going to have to start sending you stuff, because I think you need to have it in the classes by this summer, some adoption of it and how to use it. And the teachers are also going to have to learn how to use that and prevent transgressions, because it is It's the biggest single technology innovation that I have seen in my 78 years. So,
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your comments. All right. So I declare this meeting as a public hearing of the School Board of Lake County for the adoption of the tentative millage rates and the tentative budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year. Superintendent, would you please read the statement required on the millage for the record, followed by your recommendation?
The first issue to be discussed is the rollback rate. The rollback rate is defined as the millage rate necessary to generate the same amount of money that was raised the prior school year, but using the new property values after adjusting for new construction. The total millage to be levied is greater than the rollback rate by 10.19%. The purpose for which the ad valorem tax revenues are increasing are due to the increase in the required local effort. Millage revenues, in order to comply with statute 1011.62, Paren 4, Florida statute, and participate in the Florida Education Finance Program. An increase in the non-voted millage revenues in order to receive the state compression funds, and the increase in the capital outlay revenues in order to address the capital outlay and debt services needs as advertised. I recommend that the board adopt Resolution 2023-03, determining tentative millages to be levied for the fiscal year 2023-24. Included are the required local effort, including the prior period funding adjustment, millage of 3.208 mils, the basic discretionary of .748 mils, the capital outlay millage of 1.5 mils, and the additional voted millage of .75 mils, for a total of 6.206 mils. The revenues generated by this levy total general operating of $150,374,095, capital outlay $57,017,478, and additional voted millage of $28,508,739, for a total of $235,900,312.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve Resolution 2023-03, determining tentative millages for the fiscal year 2023-24 as stated?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Bill and a second by Tyler. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the tentative millage rates? All right. Yes, Mr. Yocum, please come on forward.
Vance Yocum with fiscalrangers.com. I just have intentionally avoided coming to meetings when you've had the previous budget hearings and I'm also for the cities like Tavares, I recently went there, because I wanted to see whether you were all these boards and city councils were realizing the economy and, protect the taxpayer from increased taxes. This millage rate, it says that it's greater than the rollback rate by 10.19%. That to me is huge. And then I know in addition that the valuations, although I didn't see anything in the handouts about the valuation increases, and there's no comparison here to prior years, because apparently you're following a standard format for this, whereas some other organizations I go to, they will have an explanation with the valuation and everything included. But I know it's hard for the school district to get money. I mean, out of all the government agencies I go to, you have probably the less discretion. So you probably tend to want to hang on to anything you can get for yourself. But this 10.19% increase, well greater than the rollback, to me indicates that the millage rate is pretty high. And that's higher than Mineola and several cities actually. And I would encourage you to rethink that or listen to people. But unfortunately, if we don't have any other taxpayers here, apparently, then I acknowledge the fact that probably they just don't have that much of an emphasis on trying to keep their property taxes down. Because the valuation rate you didn't have explained anywhere in here for the county, but the city of Tavares, that was 14%. So that means that, and I do realize that part of that is from growth. So I just would encourage you that millage rates is high, and I'm sure you have justified it in your previous meetings, but it's still high compared to, I think, what's happened in this economy. And he's starting.
You're okay. You
Got a few
Oh,
more
I
seconds.
got another 2 minutes? Okay.
No, no, no.
And
got
so I'll
half
go-
a minute.
There you go.
And I would just say that you really need to maybe be aware of the fact that the economy, I don't care what the mainstream media is saying, that there are a lot of things that are happening to people. And the repo on car rates going up, the foreclosures on homes are going up. They aren't going to be hitting yet, but they're going to be there. So I would encourage you to be much more aware. And hopefully you examined economics statistics on growth and everything else and salaries and wages of non-government workers to see how they're being affected by this. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Vance. Hold on. Any other public input? Mr. Attorney, do you think it's appropriate to close the public hearing?
I do.
All right, excellent. Then we will go to the board for some discussion before we vote on that. Tyler, I think you were trying
Yeah,
to get my
if I
attention there.
can, I got a question for Mr. Ward. Based on the first bullet point here, the reason for levying above the rollback rate is to comply with FVFP to get our state funding dollars. So don't we have to comply with that to get the dollars from the state? So it's,
For our required local effort, absolutely.
so
yes.
essentially the state is telling us that we need to be 10% over the rollback rate to get the dollars we need to operate.
Right, and that calculation, that 10%, that is combining all rates together at one time. And as you know, we levy 1.5 mil per capital. That used to be 2 mils up until about 2007, so 25% reduction right there. And then we got the 0.75, which we asked for the voters to approve, and they did approve it. And so 0.75 is what the voters allowed us to do. And then there's a 0.748. And remember, if you don't do the full 0.748, you lose compression funding from the state. And remember, one of the reasons why we're one of the lowest funded districts in the state is because we are below average in our valuations. So that 0.748 is actually lower for us than it is for most other school districts. And if we don't levy it, we don't get pulled up to the average for that one millage. So it is almost necessary to do that, yes.
And of the 67 counties, where do we rank in per pupil funding?
We're in the mid-60s.
Mid-60s.
64.
Yes, we're 64, 65, depends on how you look at it and which valuation you're looking at, but yeah.
You want to take your gavel back?
But at least he's explaining it. So now
very
it's-
valid
I
question,
don't mind,
but yeah.
don't
No,
mind
no,
explaining it at all.
no, I really appreciate that, because you are very transparent and always eager to step up and educate folks. And I think we've acknowledged that this millage rate is not one that we get to decide, really. We don't really have the same sort of discretion that municipalities do, that really, this whole idea of local control is a little bit of a myth, but, so.
Well, and also we'll plug for the public, on our budget transparency website, we actually have a 20-something year graph showing the different levels. And one is how much our millage has been dropping over time, and it's always been continuously dropping since the mid-2000s. And then our property values and how they've gone up and what that has done to our revenue. But when you look at the per student local funding, it's almost exactly the same as it was in 2008. So without any hedging for inflation since 2008, and we know 2008 was in the housing boom, that was one of our better years, but since that time, you can see a sharp drop, and it stayed really low all the way up until the last couple of years, and that's because the property values are going up, as Mr. Yoakum pointed out. So as a plug, you can go on the website and see that graphically.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Board, do you have any other discussion on the millage rate?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, I'd just like to thank Mr. Yoakum for making sure we're on our toes, and we appreciate you allowing us the opportunity to explain that.
Indeed. All right, Superintendent, please read your recommendation for the adoption. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, we need to vote first. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's 4-0. All right, now, Superintendent, please read your recommendation for the adoption of the tentative budget.
I recommend that the board approve Resolution 2023-04, adopting the tentative budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year in the amount of $1,131,850,368.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation? The board
moved.
approve resolution 2023-24 to adopt the tentative budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year in the amount of $1,131,850,368.
One more time, so moved.
All right, recognize Bill's motion and a second by Molly there. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the tentative budget? Mr. Yocum, come on forward.
Vance Yocum, I'll just bow to Scott and just, whatever he says. Pass it.
What did he say?
Whatever Scott Ward says.
Just pass it.
So you're done?
Did you time him?
No, he's not public.
All right. Excellent. Well done. All right, Vance, I think you recouped the 18 seconds you went over on the last one.
I see no one else coming forward, so I feel it appropriate to close the public hearing.
All right, excellent. Let's put that to a vote then. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries 4-0. Excellent. Superintendent, will you please read your recommendation for setting the final budget hearing?
I recommend that the board declare that the final budget hearing for the approval of the final millage rates and budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year will be held on Monday, September 11th, 2023, in the Commission Chambers, Lake County Administration Building at 5:05 PM.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
That the board declare that the final budget hearing for the approval of final millage rates and budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year will be held on Monday, September 11th, 2023, in the Commission Chambers, Lake County Administration Building at 5:05 PM.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Bill and a second by Tyler. Now, this is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the time and place of the final budget hearing? All right, is it appropriate to close the public hearing?
It is.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Attorney. So with that, let's put that to a vote. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 4-0 on that. This concludes the required action for the public hearing on the 2023-24 tentative millage rates and budget for Lake County Schools. We have one other topic on our agenda tonight, and that is item 3.03, ratification of administrative action and direction regarding future administrative action concerning compliance with Florida law. That was a lot of words.
Yes.
True attorney style.
Yes. And for clarity, the agenda was amended per Mr. Dodd's directive after finding there was good cause for considering this resolution because clarity is needed on this topic before school starts on August 10th, and the next regularly scheduled meeting was not until August 12th. So, to give you some background, prior informal guidance was issued by the Florida Department of Education in the form of training materials that covered both Florida House Bill 1557 and Florida House Bill 1467, which are now codified in sections 1001.42 and 1006.28 respectively Florida statutes, which cautioned Florida school districts to err on the side of caution when selecting and maintaining school library books that are aged and developmentally appropriate for students. So erring on the side of caution as directed by FDOE, district staff broadly interpreted such guidance to mean that if certain materials were deemed by the Florida legislature as inappropriate for certain grade levels as part of classroom instruction, then those same materials cannot be simultaneously deemed age and developmentally appropriate for those same grade levels in a school library. After learning that other Florida school districts had more narrowly interpreted the application of House Bill 1557 as not applying to school libraries, which is a position now also supported by the State Board of Education, an administrative decision was made to align Lake County schools with the prevailing legal interpretation of House Bill 1557. This resolution is intended to ratify that administrative decision and provide clarity before the start of the new school year to Lake County's parents, students, teachers, and administrators as to what materials will and will not be available in school libraries. This resolution does not affect or otherwise limit any parent rights described in House Bill 1557. The resolution is Resolution 2023-05, a resolution of the School Board of Lake County, Florida, ratifying prior administrative action concerning compliance with Florida law, providing direction regarding further administrative action concerning compliance with Florida law, and providing an effective date. Whereas the School Board of Lake County, Florida, the board finds that district staff properly erred on the side of caution in light of informal guidance made available by the Florida Department of Education at that time when broadly interpreting Section 1001.42 subsection 8C3 Florida statutes as applying to school libraries. Whereas, after due consideration at a public meeting of the board at which public comment was welcomed, the board finds that the subsequent administrative decision to accept and adopt the prevailing legal interpretation of Section 1001.42 subsection 8C3 Florida statutes held by other Florida school districts was well-reasoned and proper. Whereas the board finds that the State Board of Education has not yet issued formal rulemaking concerning Section 1001.42 subsection 8C3 Florida statutes, nor has the State Board of Education expressed any intent to do so. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Lake County, Florida that, Section 1, the above findings are hereby adopted and fully incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, the board hereby ratifies the prior administrative decision to align the Lake County School District with the prevailing legal interpretation of Section 1001.42 subsection 8C3 Florida statutes held by other Florida school districts. Section 3, the board hereby prohibits all district employees from following further informal guidance issued, published, filed, or otherwise disseminated regardless of format or the method of transmittal by the State Board of Education, the Florida Commissioner on Education, or the Florida Department of Education regarding the legal interpretation of Section 1001.42 subsection 8C3 Florida statutes. Section 4, in accordance with Section 1001.42 subsection 15 Florida statutes, the board hereby reiterates that it has and will continue to require that all laws of the state of Florida and all rules promulgated by the State Board of Education are complied with and properly enforced. Section 5, this resolution shall become immediately effective upon passage. And Section 6, a copy of this resolution shall be spread upon the official minutes of the board and distributed by the chairperson on behalf of the board. Passed and adopted at a duly noticed special meeting of the School Board of Lake County, Florida, this 31st day of July, 2023. You got that?
All right, thank you.
So the recommendation is to adopt this resolution, but it's up for discussion as well as public input. So,
All right, okay, so I'm guessing now that opens our public hearing, is that correct?
sure.
All right, I received a card specific to that, so Mr. Yocum, please come on forward for the public hearing. And I suppose there should also be maybe a word of caution for the board members about level of engagement due to ongoing litigation.
Yes.
All right.
Just that I didn't know what this topic was going to be because it wasn't, I don't think I saw it online. But you're talking about school books and porn in them? Is that part of what was covered by it?
It's part of what's covered in House Bill 1557, yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to share with you that in my wide-ranging quest for information related towards government and schools, that there have been 2 cases just this week where now people are moving towards suing school librarians or asking the entire school board resign because they are allowing, and I have no information, I don't think this is happening here, but just I'm sharing with you that people are getting really angry in some of these other states. And that in one case, a city mayor came in, he had talked to a local judge, and he found out that because the school board was apparently ones who supported having books with a lot of questionable issues related towards sex and so forth in them, and he came in and he just said, I talked to the judge, she says we have the grounds to sue you all for approving porn in our schools, and if you don't resign this week, I'm going to launch an investigation and sue all of you, file police reports and everything else. In another case, there was a separate issue where a similar kind of thing went on, and it was people that were just outright suing the school board. The body of knowledge, legal knowledge, is being shared among all these activist groups, and they're now finding ways to start stopping things that they object to. Do I have more minutes? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is it appropriate to close the public hearing?
It is.
All right, excellent, thank you very much.
I recommend approval of Resolution 2023-05.
All right, there's a recommendation, a motion by Bill,
Second.
second by Tyler. Any other questions or comments before voting? Not seeing any, let's put it to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. All right, we have another opportunity for board member comments in this particular meeting.
Good.
I'm good.
Tyler?
I am good.
All right. I just want to express my appreciation for all those that have worked so hard in getting the budget to this particular point. I will say that because of great partnerships with our bargaining units, I feel much more comfortable that with the budget at this point, that, all my question every year is, do we have anything for our employees? What's for our employees? And so I appreciate all the negotiations that you have put forward so far to know that there is something in there for our employees. So thankful for that. Although I know those contracts are still not approved, but anyway.
I'm good.
Nothing.
From the attorney? All right. Any objections to adjourning? No, sir. All right, not seeing, we are adjourned.